Vanessa Hurst. I'm the founder and CEO of Code Montage, where we empower computer programmers to improve their impact on the world. And I also co-founded something called Girl Develop It, where we teach adult women computer programming skills. Physical activity, and I was always required to be a Girl Scout. So now that I'm an adult,
to be a Girl Scout.
Yeah, now that I'm an adult, I'm a lifetime Girl Scout, and I have so much of my knowledge of myself and so many experiences that I'm grateful for from Girl Scouts. But there were definitely, times over the years that I wanted to get out, or I thought there was a better way to spend my time, or, it wasn't cool. But my parents kind of wouldn't budge, and I moved around a lot, so I was in 10 different Girl Scout troops. And I learned just as much from bad leaders and from, poor examples of leadership as I did from good leaders, and from seeing different groups of girls get along or not get along. And I can't imagine how I would have had so many experiences with people, in that much time without having Girl Scouts as like a constant theme or a constant thing that I was participating in. As I was growing up, I remember felt very like, who are you to decide what's important for me, or, but now I find the idea that, the idea of not being limited by what other people expect to be a huge theme, and I think of how it's actually something that I want to change about sort of how we think about education overall, is that there's a good side and a bad side to grades, right? We have this idea that we can judge what everyone is capable of on the same terms. And in some ways that sounds like it's fair. It sounds like it's like the nicest thing that we can do is to judge everyone equally. But if people are taught to strive only for that common standard, then while they may achieve, something more than what they thought before, they may also only be limited by whatever other people have already done. And that's a loss for all of us. So I'm glad that I had the structure to work hard, and kind of that my parents didn't give us a break. It wasn't like you just get to do what's easy for you and kind of move on. And that's helped me a lot, because I've been able to do things that other people didn't think were possible or didn't expect to happen. I actually learned to program in college. So I was in engineering school. I wanted to become a doctor, and I was planning to study biomedical engineering, and I was required to take a computer science course. And so the first thing I coded was an example application in Java for my class. It was a requirement. And then once I got later in the course and I started helping some of my classmates with their assignments, I realized that, one, that I understood it a little bit, and that you could automate things. I got very excited by realizing that, like, once you create a program to do something, you don't have to do it again. The computer does it for you. So it was kind of ultimate laziness. I was like, I'm going to teach a computer. Yeah. Nationwide, at least within the United States, it's projected within the next 4 years now that there will be 1.4 million software jobs, and the traditional methods of educating software developers will only meet 400,000 of those. So, less than a third of the jobs will be filled.
And
so
there's a growing economy.
Right. So there's this big economic impetus for people to learn software development, and then there's additionally the problem that within software development, the ratio of women is anywhere from kind of 10 to 30%, depending on which stats you look at.
Why do you think that ratio is so low?
I think it is by far largely cultural misperceptions. There are a lot of cultural ideas about technology and about who makes it and what it's for that are either at worst alienating to women, or at best just not interesting or not really accessible to women. So culturally, we encourage women to help each other and to be nurturing, and there's all these sort of profiles for things that we as a society expect of women, and we tend to think of the exact opposite for computer programmers. We think of computer programmers as being alone by themselves, kind of working independently.
Yeah.
Like the lone genius.
In the dark.
Yeah, in the dark, eating pizza. There are endless ways that we as a society have crafted this idea of a programmer. The truth is that software is entirely about humanity. It's literally language captured from human conversations, and it's much more, you know, you have to work with the computing hardware, so there is some structure to it that matters, but the hard part is figuring out what people need from the software. And the code is pretty straightforward once you figure that out. Code montage is actually just one example of a much larger idea about learning. It really focuses on the intention and the actions that people put into learning, and the behaviors that go into learning, as opposed to the idea that there is some perfect objective measurement of everything. And I hope that over time we'll basically elevate the way that we use computing and information to better meet how humanity actually works, which is, like you're saying, it's more flexible, achievement is different for every person, and we should actually just find ways to represent what it means to individual people better, rather than trying to force people into like false standards. Because you can see that within the software world a lot, where you hear the stat, 1.4 million software jobs and only a third of the people are qualified. But the truth is, those qualifications, they're not wrong, they're overly simplistic. And the truth is, we're gonna find people that don't necessarily fit those qualifications that are gonna be able to make things happen and affect the world, and we need to find ways to represent, achievement in terms of those individuals and what they're capable of, rather than the idea that there's some like perfect standard that's the same across all of them. There are some cultural problems within the tech community. There's just it's pretty homogenous right now. It's largely white, largely male, skews very young, but the technology itself is not creating that limitation. We are culturally. And so we need more people, we need more different people, we need people who think differently and who want to build the technology because they have some other goal, or they're passionate about something else, to come in and say, hey, technology's mine too, and here's how I want to change the world with it.